You are listening to Chef's Diary, and I'm your host, Chef Angela. Today, my guest is world traveler, passionate mompreneur, and owner of Detox, Miss Pallavi Pande. She is sharing her passion for the environment, how her company is contributing to eco-friendly living, and she has a special gift for you. Also, I'm in the kitchen with my recipe for salmon tacos with mango salsa. I'm in the kitchen with my recipe for salmon tacos with mango salsa. All right, are you ready? Let's get to cooking. Okay, so I have this recipe I want to share, and I'm going to start with the salmon and everything you need to get started and get this salmon in the oven. So you're going to need 1 pound of salmon fillet, 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning, and 1.5 tablespoons of avocado oil. All right, so now you're going to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. Line a baking sheet with parchment paper. And I would prefer to have skin off of the salmon. That's going to be completely up to you. But I would take the skin off and then coat both sides with the avocado oil and taco seasoning. Okay. And once you've coated that salmon on both sides, you want to put it inside the baking sheet. And then you're going to take that baking sheet, put it in your oven once it has been heated to 425 degrees and bake for 10 minutes. Now, while that's baking, let's get to making the salsa. So for the salsa, you're going to need 1 large mango, a quarter cup of celery, quarter cup of red onion, quarter cup of bell pepper, half a cup of cilantro, 2 tablespoons of honey, the zest and juice of 1 lime, half a teaspoon of salt, and then cayenne pepper to taste. Okay, so you're going to, while all of your ingredients are together, you're going to go ahead and start dicing. So dice up that mango. Okay, I would go with medium to small pieces, but I wouldn't do too small or too large because remember, this is going to be a taco. So try to keep it at medium size dice pieces. And you're going to do the same thing with your celery, your red onion, your bell pepper. Try to keep them around the same size. And then you're going to make sure that that cilantro has been rinsed and it's clean. And you're going to chop up your cilantro. Okay. Zest your lime. Get the juice from that entire lime. So you're going to then mix everything in a bowl. Okay, so you're going to mix it, toss the mango, the celery, the red onion, bell pepper, cilantro. Okay, and then you're going to add honey. All right, remember it's 1 tablespoon of honey. You're going to add the juice and zest of that lime. You're going to add your half a teaspoon of salt. And then if you don't want any heat, you don't have to add the cayenne pepper, but I like heat. So you can add a little bit to taste. Just add a little bit as you go along. If you really like it hot, then you add more. If you want to keep it on not so hot and keep it on the lighter side, then either add no cayenne pepper or just a little. So once your salmon is done baking, and you can make sure you test that to make sure we don't want it to be dried out now. So you got to test for doneness. And once you do that, set that to the side and let it cool just a little bit. Okay. We don't want you working with something too hot. Okay. I don't want that. So once it is cooled down just a little, you're going to go ahead and take your either flour or corn tortillas, whatever you like best. And if you want, you can actually have other things like sour cream, you can have avocado, even black beans. Okay. Those are all optional. But if you want, you can spread some avocado or sour cream on there, add pieces of your salmon, add your salsa. And if you want black beans or something else, you can add that as well. You can even add cheese if you want. But this is my recipe for salmon tacos with mango salsa. Enjoy. Hello, hello, hello. I am back and I have an incredible guest with me today. And we just talked, so I'm learning more and more about her. So now this particular podcast interview is going to be even more diverse because she just told me some incredible things about herself. And this person that I'm talking about is Pallavi Pande. And oh my gosh, she's a mompreneur. I just found out that she has visited over 19, I think, countries or 19 countries. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about her favorite food. So we're going to start there. So thank you and welcome to Chef's Diary, Polly V. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me in your chef diaries. Just let's keep adding more pages to this diary.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I like that. You were like, come on, co-host. I like that. All right. So you have basically been really well traveled, certainly more than me. And I am sure that in your travels to different countries, you have tasted so many different types of food. What
Mhm.
would you say is your favorite food or foods?
Wow, thank you for that question. First, if I say or if I pick something from my Indian food, don't call me biased because that's something I grew up with. So, one of my favorite foods would be the Indian street food. And that is because of how I was grown. And I kept on eating that for years and years. So that's a taste that has lingered in my mouth and my heart forever. So, in
Hmm.
particular, if you talk about what kind of Indian street food, there's something called pani puri, which means water. Pani means water, and puri means like a ball, so it's like a water ball. And you can actually find that in a couple of Indian restaurants that you ever visit. You just say, do you guys have pani puri? And it's like a ball that is made out of wheat, and it's deep fried, and you just punch a hole in it with your finger. And once you punch the hole, you fill it up with some masala, and that masala is made of potatoes or chickpeas, and then you have this amazingly flavored water. That's
Oh,
what you dip that whole ball in, and you scoop it out of the water like a boat, and then you put it in your mouth. So
okay. That
that's what
sounds so delicious.
it's something that will invigorate your nerves, your senses, because sometimes people like it to make it spicy, sweet, sweet and spicy, sour and spicy, whatever your flavor palette is. So you can change the flavors according to that. And it's made fresh from cilantro and mint. That's what that water is made.
Okay, you got me. There it is.
Yeah.
I love cilantro and mint, so there it is. Okay, I so you said it is called
Pani
pani pari?
Pani means water, puri means like a bread. So it's like a bread that's soaked into water and just put it in your mouth. And it can be changed according to your taste buds, sweet, sour, salty, whatever you want. And a fun fact to add to that is I do host a lot of parties, right? So I do keep this dish in most of my parties because it's easy to bring. The puris or the bread is something you buy off from shelves and boxes. And now Costco has them in packs of 3. Can you believe this? Costco is
Wow.
selling the puris, but here's the catch. They don't sell the water for it, the pani for it. You have to make the water at home either yourself, or you can
Okay.
go to an Indian store and you can buy a pre-pack ready-made packet of the pani, the water for this dish, and you just take the dish, it's a powder, and you put it in water and you mix it up. So that's your water, which is instantly ready for your parties. Now
Oh
at my
my.
parties, you know what I do with this?
Hmm.
I add a little bit of vodka or tequila or whatever alcohol I want into this dish, and then
Oh.
crazy over it.
Oh my good. Okay. My husband's birthday is today.
Okay. Happy
And
birthday.
I was trying to figure out, I think this is something we can try. We do have a lot of Indian like markets and restaurants around. So it might be on the menu or something I can find. That
Mhm.
is, oh, girl, that sounds good.
The only thing to worry here is keep it away from children. Or you can have two kinds of waters, one alcoholic and one non-alcoholic for the underage kids or underage
Okay.
people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can do the non-alcoholic. We're good with that. But that just sounded so good. I'm thinking like, okay, the next thing that I do, so that sounded really good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing.
You're
I
welcome.
just learned something, and I'm sure certain people who are listening learned something too because I did not know about this dish. I'm gonna definitely try it. I'm gonna try to find it on a menu, find it in a market, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. So, again, you said that you traveled.
Mhm.
You said, is it 19 or over 19 countries?
It's 19. Right now I'm at 19. My goal is to
Okay.
keep increasing this number before I die.
Hey, I understand that. Where are some of your favorite places to travel?
So I will give you my top 3, and I'll give you
Okay.
the reasons with that. The first one I'll start with is Switzerland. That's my number 1. Because when I visited Switzerland, it was before my kids. It was just me and my husband. Of course, it was romantic. And I think growing up in Indian cinema, the Bollywood culture, Switzerland was portrayed to us as the most romantic, beautiful country in the world. I didn't believe it until I saw it. So when I visited it, it looked like a picture, what do you call it? A painting on the wall. It's that kind of beauty. The grass
Wow.
is green. It's just amazingly green. Like I've never had that kind of green grass here in the United States in my own backyard, or I've never even seen something like that. And talking
Mhm.
about the mountains and just the natural beauty, it was mind blowing because I stayed in the middle of the Swiss Alps in a hostel because we didn't have kids then. We literally
Mhm.
stayed in hostels that had kids with stinky socks and just underwears at that time. So that was one of the most gorgeous hostels that I stayed in. It was called the Mountain Hostel in a very small town called Gimmelwald in Switzerland, in out of nowhere. It was like only 20 residents in that whole village, and you could hear cattles with the bells. You could smell the cheese and the dairy in the village. So it was that beautiful. So that's my number.
Wow.
Thank you. The second one I will say is Iceland. It blew my mind because when I visited there, it was last year, and the volcano was active, and people were actually going to see the volcano. We were like, what? And they were like, yeah, it's an experience. It's something that the local people do whenever it's erupting, wherever it is active. They would just drive down close to it, and they have like these spots where you can just sit and watch an erupting volcano. Can you believe this? Where in the world you
Mm.
experience that? I mean, I'm a big fan of Hawaii. I just got back from there, and I treat that as my second home. But again, even there, you can't see that volcano erupting like it used to be a decade ago. But again, in Iceland, you can see that. There's a dedicated spot, and the highlight of my trip from Iceland, of course, was the Blue Lagoon, which is built with the volcanic ash. You can dip in there. You can book your experience, your whole day experience there in the Blue Lagoon. They have spas, they have massages on the water. While I was inside the
Mhm.
lagoon, they gave me a massage on the water. And I was like, how are they going to do that? But it was fabulous. I loved it. And Iceland is just a beautiful country with the waterfalls, volcano, the Blue Lagoon experience. And they have a fresh tomato farm where you can experience like a farm to table kind of lunch experience. So these were some of my reasons for why I picked Iceland as my number 2. And my number
Mhm.
3 would be Alaska. I was blown away again. I had never seen glaciers in my life. And that was a place where I first saw glaciers up front. Like we did the water rafting into the glacier where we sat in a small boat, and we went so close to the glaciers, we saw them fall down. We touched the ice from the glacier. It's literally blue, like teal blue, and it's flowing in the waters right next to us. And that was a majestic
Oh
experience that I had.
my. Oh
So I
my.
even today when I close my eyes, I can see those glaciers right in front of me, and Alaska was just beautiful. It's too cold. I will never live there, but yes, I loved visiting it. I can go again to visit it. And again,
Mhm.
I've never seen 24 hours bright daylight in my life because I'm used to dark, right? So I couldn't even fathom that. Like I would go near the window every hour just to make sure that it's not dark. And people really say, like, when it's the truth, that it never gets dark, it never does. So those are my
Right.
three top threes.
So I have two things to say about this. First of all, thank you for sharing these. I don't know, somebody from the Visitors Bureau for Switzerland, Iceland, and Alaska need to get in touch with you because you have given
A lot of
the
great
most
questions.
incredible commercial for these places. You've actually not just talk, like you took me there, you transported me. I was able, as you were speaking, to visualize and even want to go because I've never really had an interest too much to go to Alaska. My aunt went there once and she had a cruise and she took pictures and they were beautiful.
Mhm.
But what you just said and the way that you're describing these locations is like, now she got me thinking about wanting to go see glaciers in Alaska. But the other thing I wanted to say is my daughter, when she hears this podcast, is going to be like just so overjoyed because she is 16 and for the last 4 years, she has spoken only of Iceland. She
Wow.
wants to live there. She is constantly telling us about my husband and I when we're going to visit her there. And she really wanted to go for her 16th birthday, but we couldn't make that happen. And we're trying to figure something out within the year. And she graduates next year. So Iceland, I mean, I actually want to visit there. I heard about the Blue Lagoon. I heard about the volcano. I wasn't sure, but she has done her research and she talks about it like she has been there, but to hear someone else speak, she's going about it. She's going to be so overjoyed about that. So thank you so much for sharing. Were there any foods in these places that stood out for you that maybe you had never tried before you went to these countries?
Well, for
Well,
Iceland,
Alaska's not a country, but
a place, let's put it that way.
right, right.
Yeah, I will say your daughter is very wise. She has a good choice. Now I can say, because she's picked up a great place to go and settle in, Iceland. I'm sure she'll be very proud of that. And taking you over there after this excitement of yours, I think will be a cherry on top for you to travel as a mom and daughter and make this
Mhm.
a memorable trip for your family. So I'm glad I was able to vicariously make you live into this moment when I was describing
Yeah.
my trips. And second to your question, any amazing foods? Yes. So for Alaska, I would say, Alaska is famous for salmons, and there's a reason why. We actually saw fresh salmons being caught and how
Mm.
they find I mean, I don't know if you eat seafood or not, but if you do,
Yes,
they
and I
definitely
love salmon.
yes, definitely salmon is something you have to eat. Alaskan salmons are great, and there's actually an experience that you can do where they show you how they catch the fresh salmons, and it's fun because they keep jumping and jumping back into the water. They don't want to be caught, so it's a fun experience, and my kids enjoyed it. So that's something you can do. If you don't eat fish, you can still go watch the salmons.
Okay.
So that was the highlight there. For Iceland, I will say, for Iceland, I tried a beverage. It's their traditional alcoholic beverage. They have some sort of it's a very small. I don't know the name of it, but it's very traditional to Iceland, and that's what I tried. I was like, "Bring me your local alcohol," and it was a sipping alcohol in a shot glass, and I totally enjoyed it. So that was very unique flavor. I don't recall the name, but I can Google it, and maybe we can show it and put it in the show notes later. But maybe our
Okay.
audience can Google it and tell us what that name could be. So
Right.
that was the alcoholic drink that I loved from Iceland. And what was the third one? Oh yeah, so Switzerland. This is a must that I'm going to tell you guys. Whenever whoever is visiting in Switzerland, the hostel that I told you about, right? The mountain hostel, which is up
Mhm.
in Walled, right in the middle of the Swiss Alps. As soon as we landed, we were so tired of the international trip and we were so hungry. What we did was there was a small cafe up there and we ordered them a sandwich and a cold beer. And that was the best meal I can imagine because you know what? When I told them I eat spicy sandwich, they got me these tiny Thai chilies, very custom and personalized with my sandwich. And literally, that sandwich was the best sandwich. And that Swiss beer that I had in my hand, that was the best combination. So that was my
Oh,
favorite
wow.
there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. So, one of the things that I also heard you say in all of these spaces is your appreciation for nature. Like each place you mentioned, these landscapes, and again, gave me this postcard visual of these places. And so, I know that the environment is important to you. So, what does it mean being environmentally conscious? For you, what would you say that means to you?
Sure. So again, thank you for acknowledging and seeing the appreciation that I showed in my when I was speaking, and it is because I come from India, and in India, I grew up in a place which was very naturistic, which is still very rough, which is still very untouched. And there are people who just go there for natural beauty. So that is something I learned to appreciate since I was growing up, because I grew up in such a place where there are waterfalls and rivers and mountains and snow. And what it means to be environmentally eco-conscious is, again, paying attention to the space you occupy, paying attention to where you live, paying attention to the footprint that you're having around you, whether it's in a space, whether it's in a place, or whether it's in people's life that you directly or indirectly affect. So that's what it means to be environmentally eco-conscious, that putting yourself into this space where you're intentional about everything around you, everyone around you, and that's what it means to me.
Yeah, intentionality is very important, especially when we're talking about environment. And I've spoken with people who've said, what I do doesn't really matter, what the little that I do doesn't really matter. How would you respond to someone who would say that to you?
Well, I would say it's okay to feel that way, and I can see why they would feel something like that, because they can't see the ripple effect that it does to somebody at that point of time, because maybe it doesn't, maybe it does affect someone later on, and maybe it's some effect that we can't even see ourselves because we don't know of what we don't know. So when you say, oh, it doesn't matter, it does. Everything, like I said, the space what we occupy around us, the people around us, everybody has an effect because of us, and it's just we don't know about it. But that's where consciousness comes, that if you are ready first to acknowledge that it matters, and second, what identifying it as important, and then what to do about it, like how do you measure that impact. So that is a holistic approach, that you have to measure it, uh,
Mhm.
the space, the footprint that you're making. And that's why it's called everybody, even if you're a tiny dot and you do occupy that space and you have a footprint and you have an impact.
Yes, and I know that you take your impact very seriously because you have created a business around being eco-friendly and being intentional about your footprint in our environment. And as I was looking on your website, I saw this. I'm going to read it for the audience because you offer palm leaf dinnerware, and it says that it is an eco friendly, sustainable, single use dinnerware solution for a plastic free world.
Mhm.
Um, that's awesome. But what I want you to do, along with telling us more about your business, is your journey. Like, how did you get into providing this type of product?
Sure, I'd love that. So, like I mentioned, I grew up in India, and in our Indian culture, it's very traditional to eat on banana leaves. So, if you're somebody who's ever visited India or do plan to visit India, don't be surprised if they serve you food on banana leaves, especially the southern part of India. And that is a feeling that I'm so nostalgic about, because I moved to this country more than 18 years ago. I have raised family here, I have two kids, everything is here. This is home. But I do miss and I do have nostalgic moments when I think of those memories of being able to do the things that I did and giving that same experience to my daughters. And that is when I had a moment and I was like, how do I turn my pain of giving these experiences to my kids, to my family, and turn this into a purpose? That is when I look back at my experience. So earlier in my career, I worked in logistics, supply chain, warehousing, shipping, inventorying for a private company. So I knew how to move things across countries or across point A, point B. I just had to figure out what is it that is, or how is it that I'm going to establish a business of my own, and I'm going to marry that business of my own to my cultural tradition so that I can bring in a product that is usable, it's functionable, something that stands for sustainability, and something that's bringing the community together, something that's for the community. So these were the three pillars that I started my brand with. And like you mentioned, my brand is called Detox. It's spelled as DTOCS, a different spelling of the word detox, but it echoes with the meaning cleansing journey with palm leaves. And with Detox, my goal is to give consumers better alternatives to the existing single use disposables that are today in the market, which are cheap paper products, toxic plastic products, expensive bamboo products, or the boring, heavy traditional Chinaware that we all use in our homes at our parties. So, my goal was to replace all of these with my tableware solutions that look elegant, that are made from palm leaves that are actually on the ground. So, in India, there are areca palm farms. The areca trees produce areca nuts. The leaves fall, and we pick up the leaves and we upcycle the leaves to create these tableware. And then my products are compostable in 90 days in your backyard, and they're microwave safe. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to give you convenience of use and throw at your home parties or at your events, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're a caterer, event planner, wedding planner. And because I just hate it when people invite me to their parties and they say, "Can you help clean up?" I'm like, "How dare you? Don't ask me to clean up, because I promise you, I will not make you clean up in my parties, because I have the perfect solution for it."
Mhm. You know what? Me and you, okay, we have the same thing. I don't do that either. I don't ask people to clean up. I don't know. That's a little secret pet peeve of mine. I mean, if I offer, but the expectation, right? I'm like, why? But I love that you are offering something that is not only good for the environment, but it's beautiful too. Those are both important because, you know, when people are having parties or when they're doing things, they look for something that they actually want, you know, other people to see. So you have this really great synergy between having a product that is eco-friendly and is beautiful as well.
Mhm,
As a chef, I do a lot of meal prepping and a lot of prepping for different things that I'm doing, you know, if I'm cooking. And so even with the meal prep, when I'm going out and I'm trying to find containers, I am always met with these what would seem to be budget friendly containers. You can get so many in bulk, but I have to read because it's like these things are toxic. You know, you have to make sure, okay, is this BPA free? Is this, but there's so many plastic products out there that are toxic that I don't think that most people still realize what's actually in these containers. And in my field, I'm using this all the time. So I've had to make changes
mhm,
because I, not only for my own health and my family's health, but for other people that I'm cooking for. And then there are paper products that just don't always stand up very well
mhm.
to that. So having, I can't wait to try your products because that is something that, you know, from a chef standpoint, a cook standpoint, we're kind of looking for. It's very easy to go to like a local dollar store and pick up some of these products, but you have to be careful because, like you said, they are not all toxic free. And, you know, I don't know if any are completely, but certainly there are ones that are just not at all. So you having this detox, and it wasn't until you just said it that I got it. I'm looking and I'm like, okay, DTOCS, but that is a play, like you said, on the word detox, but in a different form. And I believe we all need to really consider what it is, not just what we're putting in our body as far as the food, but what are we putting that food on? And, you know, many times that's not even in the conversation.
Exactly. And that's where I wanted to, you bring a great point, because you were talking about greenwashing. Like sometimes I believe it's consumer awareness. Increasingly now consumers are asking these questions, right? Is this compostable? What is compostable means? How is it that different from biodegradable? So all of these questions are important. And like you said, people can go and shop anywhere, but that's where brands come into picture, because we are empowering you with a choice, and that choice matters, because not just what we're putting on our plate or in it's important what we are putting on our plate and what we are putting in our plate, because that plate eventually goes in the microwave and you're
Mhm.
eating off of it. So that beats the purpose if you're shopping at Whole Foods and you're buying all organic groceries. But if you're going to heat that up in a nasty melamine or a Chinaware that has all these um, chemicals, then what's the point? So in
Mhm.
detoxification, cleansing inside outside was my goal, and that's why I went with the cool five-letter word detox, just like I felt.
I that is really cool. That is cool. When it comes to healthy eating, I really it burns me up. It is a huge issue for me that eating healthy and many times is more or feels like it can be more expensive than the foods that are not good for you. And so finding products that are also complementary to the healthy eating that you're doing can sometimes be expensive. And you mentioned that compared to some of the other products, yours is not, I guess really expensive. Can you talk about, that accessibility and that affordability that your products provide?
Sure. So when I started 5 years ago, I started as a consumer who would use these at homes because I'm a mom and I host parties, I'm an entertainer, and that was my own pain point, which was I hated the cleanup, I hated the changing of trash bags after my own party. So I was like, how is this something that's going to be sustainable and affordable for consumers at home? So we very strategically priced our plates, which is very comparative to the plates you would find in Costco. Like if you're a Costco shopper who buys the wholesale bulk volume, those plates roughly come to 20 around 20 cents. And what I will say is we're not your average plates for sure at Detox. We are your premium quality uh, plates, and we are again for a particular niche. For example, if you're having a barbecue party, weddings, or if you have a premium event where you want to check that box, which is aesthetically pleasing plates, or plates that go in the microwave, or plates that are chemical free, or plates that compost in 90 days. When I wanted to check off these boxes, of course it comes with a little more premium, which is if you add 5 more cents to those Costco plates, our plates become 25 cents. So again, depending on the volumes you're ordering, that price is negotiable. We can definitely work on a better pricing if you are a restaurant or food service person who's ordering these in bulk, because our bottom line goal is to eliminate as many single-use disposables as we can.
Mhm.
So, and I know you were also mentioning in previously on this call that you said dollar store. Yeah, that's a easy access. Again, today's life is about convenience, which is fine. So there's no problem in buying those plates. And those plates today are priced at what, $1.25 for a pack of eight, which breaks it down to 12 cents per piece for one plate. So you add 10 more cents to it, or maybe 8 more cents to it, you can get a better plate, which is doesn't have any PLAs, any plastics in it, nanoplastics, and which is safe, like you said, to put your food on, to microwave, to even put it in trash, because you know it's not something that's going to end in landfill in the oceans.
Okay. You mentioned the difference between something being compostable and biodegradable.
Right.
So, for audience who does not understand the difference, can you explain that?
Yes, of course, I would love to, which is let's start with biodegradable. Something that is biodegradable need not necessarily be compostable. So the breaking down is the part where biodegrade is different from compost. So in composting, you know that something doesn't become landfill, means it breaks down completely into soil. That's what compostable means. And for compostable, you can either do it in your backyard at home, like if you have a garden, you can literally put, like for example, food scrapes, like a banana peel. It's fully compostable, which means if you take a banana peel and if you put it in your garden, it's going to break down completely into soil, right? And
Mhm.
similarly, other ways to compost is now these days people have these machines like Lomi, which is a machine you just buy, you plug it in your home, you put all your food scrapes. Like when you're cooking, you're a chef, so you have a lot of leftovers. Like you
Mhm.
have these insider seeds from bell peppers, or you have the peels of the zucchini. So what you can do with all those food scrapes is you take that bin and you put it inside that composting bin, and you run that machine. So it turns everything into compost, into soil, into fertilizer in 30 minutes. So that's another plus point of why you can, or how it's easy now to compost. The third way to compost is commercial composting. So our products have certifications from CMA, that stands for Composting Manufacturing Alliance, that composts our products to be used in US and in Canada at a larger level, which means with venues, at restaurants, where people take the products and they compost them in these controlled environments. That's why it's called a commercial composting facility. And there are these composters in every nation, in every state, that have composting facilities, but they're very careful on not mixing. And that's why they say don't mix biodegradable products with compostable products, because they do not break down at the same rate. They do not become soil. So you cannot mix them, because then you're contaminating the whole pile of composting. For example, in your home composting pile, when I said put your scrapes of bananas or zucchinis, if you put in a biodegradable cutlery, let's say a plastic spoon, you know what it's going to do? It's going to contaminate that pile, and it will not let it break down in a proper time, or even let it break down completely. So that's the difference. When you talk about biodegradation, the breakdown process is very slow. The organisms are bacteria, fungi. They're different from composting, because composting, you need worms, which literally eat the breaking point is different. They are in controlled conditions, and they eat on that waste to break it down. So this is
Okay.
just some ways. So
All
basically,
right.
it's the process, it's the time frame, and then it's the end product, what results out of it, the outcome.
Well, thank you for explaining that because I believe that that is information we all need. And there's so many different words out here and terms. And so to have clarity on that is, I think, very educational and important. I am looking again at your website. And I want our listeners to know that they can definitely go ahead and check out your website. And I believe it is dtocs.com. So, we said detox, right? But it's dtocs.com. And the categories that you have, so there are plates, charcuterie boards and trays. So many people are, doing charcuterie boards and trays. The holidays are coming up. So think about that. There are bowls, you have party packs, you have spoons and straws. So everything that Polly V has been talking about today, I want you to understand that you have access to these products, and you can go online and choose from all of these different categories. You have people who are saying testimonials, they're saying like very good value. So I really want folks to check you out and to check out these products. More about your journey, more about your company is on your website as well. And I just thank you for sharing so much information because this was really informative. And also, like I said, I don't know, you might want to talk to the visitors bureau. You give great commercials for places that you love, I'm telling you, Switzerland, Iceland, Alaska, y'all got to hit her up and
Actually,
get
I
her.
have more in the list. Like South Africa is my number four. So
Oh,
it's just
okay.
the list keeps on increasing. So do let me know if you want to connect later. So I want to appreciate you first for giving me this opportunity to being here. And second, if the audience wants to connect, they're more than welcome to connect with us on Instagram, which is Detox Plates. Our handle is Detox Plates. And it is because 5 years ago when I started the business, I literally started with 4 plates. I didn't have a bigger vision on what products I will add. But today, like you said, we have charcuterie boards, straws, spoons, bowls, plates, something for everybody to bring joy. And the other thing that I want to offer the audience today is a discount coupon code whoever would like to fall in love with the products and give them a try and experience them for yourself, or whether it's putting them in microwave, whether it's composting them, whether it's just smelling them because they smell like leaves, I would like
Mm.
them to use the coupon code Detox10, and it's spelled as our brand name, DTOCS, with the number 10 after that. And that would give them 10% off on any order and free shipping anywhere in the US. And that is something they can use on our website.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, gifts. We're giving gifts now. Thank you. That is awesome. So, everybody, you have got to, like I said, check out Detox. And you said on Instagram is Detox Plates
Mhm.
is your Instagram handle. Okay, awesome. We're going to make sure that we follow as well. You mentioned South Africa. So you said that was your fourth place. So I'm going to let you end with telling me an experience that you enjoyed about South Africa and include any kind of food you want in that.
Of course, food. Life is all about food and partying, right? Two of these
Yep.
things that you and me are here to cover for. So thank you again. I would say for South Africa, my goal in so I turned 40 this year, and one of my 40th milestone was I want to see a wildlife safari, and one of the best, not just any, and not just like a reserve, like a proper wildlife safari out in the wild. And that's why we did South Africa for that. And I can highly recommend and say the best national safari that I was able to witness was at the Kruger National Park. And we stayed in the Kruger Gate resort, which is inside the national park, like inside. You'll have lions and animals walking in the backyard in your hotel, and you can get a spa right
Wow.
there, taking a massage. There could be a lion watching you. So if you're shy, cover your face. But that being said,
Wow.
Kruger National Park was the destination highlight for the wildlife safari. We hired this what do you call the travel person who took us inside the safari. He is a South African native, and he's been doing this safaris for the last 50 years. And he was able to take us inside the wildlife safari. We rent the jeep and we all go in there. We saw every animal, like every animal you can imagine, and at least 20 new animals that I didn't know of. And the most exciting part was I was able to eat because you asked for food. Let me connect this to food, the travel with the food. I was
Mhm.
able to experiment with three animals that I didn't think of I would ever eat or enjoy. But again, let me tell you this: that I'm a vegetarian. I'm actually a vegan by choice by dinner. It's been 8 years I've been eating vegan food for dinner because of health issues. I have
Okay.
fibromyalgia and inflations and all of that. So I've seen a change in my diet. Eating clean has helped. But sometimes when I'm traveling or I'm outside of the house, I do get my temptations on and I crave for meat because I used to be a meat eater 24/7, like from breakfast to dinner. That's how I grew up. But I've been able
Mhm.
to tame that and I don't miss it that much. But in South Africa, I did try three new animals. And if you want to take a guess, I'm sure you can't because the first one was the springbuck. Springbuck is a national animal of South Africa.
Mm.
And I will say I did not have a good experience. Why? Because it tastes awful. It tastes like very much like metal,
Ew.
very, very hard to chew on. But I don't want to discourage people because what I want to say is right behind our table at the restaurant or the place that we went to that I will touch base next because I want everybody to know about this restaurant later. So when we went there, I saw people from South America and they finished that whole springbuck in South Africa, the springbuck. The next one was ostrich, and that was a meat that I absolutely enjoyed. Very similar to chicken and
Mhm.
very tasty, and that's something I would eat again. And the last one was the alligator, and it was something very similar to octopus in seafood, like very very chewy, and that was
Mhm.
so these were my top 3 food, uh, that I tried for the first time in South Africa.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much again for sharing your experiences and educating us on being more eco friendly and inviting us to all purchase and participate in getting these plates from your company, Detox Plates. And I am just really, really excited to get mine. So, and using these because I've never You said it smells like leaves. Like I'm waiting. I'm waiting. So I'm going to go ahead and also make a purchase. I appreciate your offer earlier as well. And I thank you for giving this discount code to our listeners. Wishing you so much success with the work that you're doing, because I know that you are passionate about that, and we are all better for it because this is something that you are passionate about. So again, thank you, and thank you so much for being on Chef's Diary.
Glad to be here. Thank you again.
Dear Diary, today I learned that getting outside of my comfort zone and being willing to try something new opens a world of possibilities. I also learned that Switzerland, Iceland, and Alaska are some places I should consider visiting. Time to get passport ready. That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening to Chef's Diary.